Cells are the smallest unit of life and are made up of a cell membrane, nucleus, and cytoplasm. The cell membrane controls what enters and exits the cell. The nucleus contains DNA and RNA, and the cytoplasm is a fluid that contains other parts of the cell. Function cell have many parts called organelles that perform specific tasks. For example, the endoplasmic reticulum processes molecules, and the cytoskeleton is a network of fibers that provide structural support. Cells can be prokaryotic or eukaryotic depending on whether they have a nucleus. Prokaryotic cells are simpler and smaller than eukaryotic cells, and they lack a nucleus. Cells can range in size from microscopic to a few millimeters. For example, the ostrich egg is the largest known animal cell, while a human neuron is only 100 microns across. Cell can be flat, oval, rod-shaped, curved, spherical, concave, or rectangular. Robert Hooke discovered and named the cells in 1665. He named it after the Latin word cellula, which means small rooms. Cells go through a 4-stage cycle of development and division called the cell cycle. The stages are gap 1 synthesis, gap 2 and mitosis. Some examples of cells include red blood cells, white blood cells, and platelets. The cell is the basic structural and functional unit of all forms of life. Every cell consists of cytoplasm enclosed within a membrane. Many cells contain organelles, each with a specific function. The term comes from the Latin word cellula, meaning small room. Most cells are only visible under a microscope. The cell is the basic structural and functional unit of life, all forms of life. Every cell consists of cytoplasm enclosed within a membrane. Many cells contain organelles, each with a specific function. The term comes from the Latin word cellula, meaning small room. Most cells are only visible under a microscope. Cells emerged on Earth about 4 billion years ago. All cells are capable of replication, protein synthesis, and motility. Cells are broadly categorized into two types: eukaryotic cell, which possess a nucleus, and prokaryotic cell, which lack a nucleus but have a nucleoid region. Prokaryotics are single-celled organisms such as bacteria, whereas eukaryotics can be either single-celled, such as amoeba, or multicellular, such as some algae plants, animals, and fungi. Eukaryotic cells contain organelles including mitochondria, which provide energy for cell functions, chloroplasts, which create sugars by photosynthesis in plants, and ribosomes, which synthesize proteins. Cells were discovered by Robert Hooke in 1665, who named them after their resemblance to cells inhabited by Christian monks in a monastery. Cell theory developed in 1839 by Matthias Jacob Skeliden and Theodor Schwann states that all organisms are composed of one or more cells, that cells are the fundamental unit of structure and functional in all living organisms, and that all cells come from pre-existing cells. Cells are broadly categorized into two types: eukaryotic cells, which possess a nucleus, and prokaryotic cells, which lack a nucleus but have a nucleoid region. Prokaryotes are single-celled organisms, whereas eukaryotes can be either single-celled or multicellular. Prokaryotic cells include bacteria and archaea, two of the three domains of life. Prokaryotic cells were the first form of life on Earth, characterized by having vital biological process including cell singling. They are simpler and smaller than eukaryotic cell. A prokaryotic cell has three regions: cell envelope, consisting of a plasma membrane covered by a cell wall, which for some bacteria may be further covered by a third layer called Capsule. Inside the cell is the cytoplasmic region that contains the genome, DNA, ribosomes, and various sorts of inclusions. The genetic material is freely found in the cytoplasm. Prokaryotes can carry extra chromosomal DNA elements called plasmids, which are usually circular. On the outside, some prokaryotes have flagella and pili that project from the cell's surface. There are structures made of proteins that facilitate movement and communication between cells.